So welcome to everybody. Welcome to the Compassion and Wisdom in Action conference. And this conference is organized by the FDCW in London. And it's to celebrate and to share the universal education programs that have been developed by the FDCW. And also for us to be able to express our own wisdom and compassion. Our speaker today is Mabel. You can see on the screen. Hello, Mabel. Mabel Odessey. She's going to present Kindful Communication. She'll talk about her subject, then there'll be several breakout groups so that we can share our wisdom together. And the question and answer at the end. And that will bring us up to the full 1.5 hour workshop. Before we actually start and before I present Mabel, I wanted to remind people that there's translation. There's translation in Spanish and there's translation in Italian. So if you need either of those translations, you can rename yourself and you put IT at the end of your first name if you want Italian translation and SP for Spanish if you want Spanish translation, and that helps us organize getting you sort of fixed up. Now, a little bit about Mabel. Well, she's a good friend of mine. We've known each other for years. She's an American living not in Paris, but in the south of France. She's a founder of the Universal Education Group in France, and a facilitator for the 16 guidelines for a happy life. She's very creative and she's done a lot. Well, she's a photographer and she continues doing photography with the technique, the pinhole photography, and develops projects between elderly residents in homes and school children on death and dying, or aging and dying more likely. She's also a lifelong student, and since a year she's engaged in a master's course in Scotland on compassion and mindfulness. I really hope you enjoy this session, and I'll hand it over to Mabel.
Thank you, Hilary. Thank you, Angela, Victoria, Michaela, the team at FDCW. And thank you all for being here and joining me today for an hour and a half to explore communication. I'd also like to thank, there are people here who also have been my teachers. I mean, I think one of the sort of bases of this communication workshop is starting to look at every communication and every person we connect with as being a teacher for us. So I'd like to sort of thank them and thinking of them also as we start today. And before we get involved in the workshop, which I hope is very participative for everybody, I'd like to make sure we've got a safe space where the invitation is to participate, but it's also, people should feel very comfortable and free if they don't want to participate, if they want to put their cameras off, whatever you need to do so that it works best for you, please do that. The session is recorded, but the breakout rooms are not recorded. So you can feel that, you know, whatever you say in a breakout room is confidential. Well, it's one of the basics of any kind of communication really is bringing a respect to listening, bringing an open mind and not interrupting people, which I'm sure won't happen anyway. And the other thing I'd like to ask people to remind people is to, when we speak, to speak in the first person, so that when we're speaking from our own experience, and although it's really interesting to have philosophical conversations about things, we have very little time together, and it's really most beneficial and most meaningful if we all speak from the heart and speak from our own experience. So, okay, what are the objectives of this workshop? Basically, the idea of the workshop is to gain an awareness of our intention when we enter into communication, conversations, and what's going on inside ourselves, being really present there, and also being connecting to our heart, our sense of kindness. Connecting also to our body, to our bodily sensations, because our body is always in the present. It never can lie or be somewhere else. So when we connect, when we use our body to connect, we are really much more fully present than if we're just living in our heads, because our heads can be, our minds can be in the past, it can be in the future, it can be anywhere in the universe. And we'll also look a little bit at how conversations break down, how we go from a we, where information is flowing and there's a sense of being together and involved in something, and to where we suddenly are isolated individuals. And finally, we're going to look at how impermanence plays a role. So the workshop is inspired by the 16 Guidelines program. Is anyone not familiar with the 16 Guidelines program? Raise your hand. Okay, maybe a few people. Well, the 16 Guidelines is a program, universal education program based on a Tibetan text from the 7th century, which is a set of universal values that when we learn to nourish in ourselves, they create more happiness for ourselves as individuals, for our relationships, for our communities, and I think for the whole planet. In a nutshell. So this workshop is inspired by the 16 Guidelines program, and I've sort of organized it in relation to the 4 wisdom themes. So we start off with how we think, and then the next one is how we act, how we relate, and how we find meaning. So that's the structure of how we're going to look at things today. And I've been really inspired by listening to His Holiness the Dalai Lama recently, because each time he talks to people, he really talks about the importance of developing our heart and developing our kindness. And in his message to the conference, he said that if we develop peace in our hearts, then our words will bring peace and our actions will bring peace. And I thought that was so powerful. And I thought, well, yeah, that's what I'm hoping really that we can explore together here today. How by developing peace in our heart, our words will bring peace, our words will bring compassion and understanding and wisdom. So we're not going to look into sort of too many techniques or strategies. I'm familiar with nonviolent communication, and I've trained in that. And I think it's absolutely fantastic, but we're not going to do that today. Even if we had time. So first of all, I'd like us to consider together, and I'll invite everyone to write in the chat. Why do we communicate? Why do we communicate? I mean, firstly, we communicate to survive. You know, as a species, as individuals, we couldn't survive on our own. So we need communication. in order to survive. We need communication to understand and to be understood. We need communication to connect to others and to create. And I see there's a lot of stuff coming into the chat. Let me have a look. I'll read it out. To express ourselves, to know ourselves better, to understand one another better, to share what we think and feel, because we're social beings, to connect and express, to connect with others, to be fully human, connect, to inform, persuade, entertain, to know and be known. Yeah. Yeah, so it's really about our basic needs as humans that live in this sort of greater human family. And other beings communicate too, of course. Yeah. I have cats. They do a lot of communicating. And then there's someone in Spanish. Maybe Angela, you can read that.
To share, to know each other, and to know everybody else and ourselves.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so that's really the context for why we're here and why we want to explore this, and how we can develop ways of doing that will foster a larger sense to love and be loved. Yeah, and to create a world where there is more love. So let's start off together with a little moment of to settle, a little time of mindfulness. And so I invite everyone to find a comfortable position and to take a few deep breaths, deepening the in-breath and lengthening the out-breath to just help settle, to help bring ourselves into the body with an awareness of the in-breath and the out-breath and the sensations of the breath coming in and going out of the body. And maybe sensing how the body slightly relaxes with the out-breath, feeling the shoulders drop a little bit maybe. And then letting your breathing return to its normal rhythm. Letting the body settle and feel its weight on the chair beneath it, or the cushion you're sitting on. And let the mind settle in this body. Maybe letting go with the out-breath of any thoughts and conversations we've been having, any tension to get on the call on time. And letting your attention settle lightly and gently on the sensations of the breath in the body. Maybe at the stomach as it rises and falls, or maybe the sensations of the air in your nostrils. And taking a moment to think about your motivation for being here today. Developing our skills to share and communicate, to know and be known, to connect. And maybe think of someone who you've had a difficult conversation with recently, and mentally bring this person along too. So that you're not just doing the workshop for ourselves today here, but we're doing it for all beings. I'd like to read you a little quote by Sakyong Rinpoche, who says, "Every encounter is the beginning of a new conversation, even before language is shared. The secret is that we have to be present for it. Before you speak, breathe and find your own spot. What emotions are arising? Can you notice what's happening in your mind and then simply appreciate the space you share with the other person? The conversation has already begun." So when you're ready, if you've had your eyes closed, please open your eyes and we'll come back together in our virtual space, our virtual shared space. And we'll start to look at the communication in relation to the first wisdom theme, how we think. So, as Hilary mentioned, I've been doing a course about mindfulness and compassion, and I've become a total fan of mindfulness. I could become a missionary, in fact, of mindfulness, because I think it's such an important, powerful skill that we really all need to develop. And it's really is the heart of what all we can do to develop our wisdom and compassion, because without being aware of where we are, then where can we start? And we also need to be aware of ourselves and the other in the space that we're trying to communicate in. So to start off, I'd like to show you a picture, and what I'd like you all to do is to react to that picture in the chat. So just you look at the picture and just write down, how did you feel when you saw it? What were you thinking? Okay. So let me just share the screen. Oops, 1 second. Okay, oops. Okay, can everyone see that? Okay, so just take a moment and just write in the chat how you react to that. What do you feel? What are you thinking when you see that picture? Wendy writes connection. Sylvia writes happy, love. Hui writes the preciousness of connection. Francisca writes cute, love, amour, intimacy. This is great. Sorry, it's going so quickly. Wow. And full of good energy, love, awe, sweetness, passion and love. I'm glad for them. Intimacy, cercanía, demonstración de afección, love, sex, communication, something in Italian, I'm not sure. Meeting, think of hippies, makes me feel passion. Okay, great. That's great. Okay, now I'm going to show another picture. And again, I'd like you to react in the chat. And we're going to look again at the picture. And this time, bring to mind maybe that one of those people on the bench is your partner. Or if you don't have a partner, maybe one of those people is someone close to you. Or, you know, maybe you want to imagine that you woke up this morning in a really bad mood and you've had a row with someone. Okay? And then we'll look again. Again, with this other sort of mindset, looking at the picture, Susan's written pain, betrayal, how dare they be together in public, annoyance, envy, soppresso, sorry, Angela will have to help, sad, annoyance, confusion, envy, she's nice. I'm now thinking of the other two in the background, feeling like I need to examine the rest of the picture. Okay. Feeling avoidance, giving. Okay, so now, pre-COVID, let's just think about it one more time with this same picture, but imagine that you're a bird flying overhead. What do you think when you look down from your bird position, from your bird's eye view? No food visible. Strange behavior, food, mess. Is there anything to eat? Togetherness, oneness, freedom. Her hair would be a good nest. Not interested, feeling love, thinking those humans are kissing, feeling happy for them. Humans like to be in pairs too. Similarity. Que será eso? No room on the bench for me. I can't land here. Okay, great. So we can see that once again, our reality is not something fixed out there. What we experience depends on so many things, depends on our mood, our emotions, our culture, our education, so many things. You can imagine if we were living in in Afghanistan, and you showed this picture, the responses would be maybe very, very different because of their culture and the way that embracing in public would be considered. So how does this relate to communication and how we start a conversation? Well, like any image or any experience, we don't come to it neutrally. They say that when people go for a job interview, within the first 30 seconds before the candidate has even opened their mouths, the people who are prospective employers, have already decided. So we come to every situation, not like a surveillance camera, but with all of our human experience and, whatever currently going on in our lives. And, that's also full of judgments. That's also full of, a desire to convince someone, change someone, wanting things to be a particular way. And all of this is not like, oh, well, I'm such a bad person because this is the way I am. But all of this is important because if we're mindful, if we're aware of it, then we don't have to let it be the filter through which we engage with the other person. If we're not aware of it, then it is like, we have a pair of glasses on and we can only see through that lens. Yeah. So again, we'll maybe just take a brief pause of a few breaths to let the thoughts of how that really plays out in our lives settle. And let's now take a look at the second wisdom theme, how we act, and how our actions, cause reactions, and how other people's actions create reactions in ourselves. And we're always talking about, because in any conversation, there's, we are the subject and we're engaging with someone else. There are always different points of view and different ways of looking at it, of understanding and being understood, how we express a message and how we receive it. And in relation to the second wisdom theme, how we act, what we're going to explore is listening. And listening may seem like a passive side of communication, but I would like to suggest that maybe listening is the most active and the most important part of communication if we really want to understand and be understood. And I think we all know, well, we can just check, how many people have had the experience of talking to someone and then suddenly you see they're looking over your shoulder or they're not listening to you? Other people had that experience? Right, okay. Anybody find that painful? Right, okay. Just checking that I wasn't alone. So listening is really crucial, and it's a way that we can really, it's not only is it important for understanding and being understood, it's also a way of giving. It's also a way of expressing our love and our kindness and our generosity for the person we're with. So it's really a very active skill. And Thich Nhat Hanh, he talks a lot about mindful listening, and there are several different qualities that we can explore. But we're going to explore it in a much more dynamic, universal education sort of way in breakout rooms. So what we're going to do is we're going to move into breakout rooms and we're going to do an inquiry. So I will explain the inquiry. Well, I have a little help to explain the inquiry process, just in case not everyone is familiar with it. So we have the bunny rabbit and the dog. Okay, this is A and this is B. So in your breakout rooms, you'll have A and B. So we'll just say the person whose name in the alphabet is closest to A will be A. Bunny rabbit is A. A will ask well, this question is not, this time it's not a question. We'll say the sentence, begin the sentence, and B will finish the sentence. Okay? So it's not a conversation that you're going to have. So for example, the sentence is, I will listen to you if I understand your words. And then the bunny rabbit will say the second sentence, if you listen to me, I will understand you. And then bunny rabbit will say the third phrase, if I listen to myself, I will always do the right thing. And then bunny rabbit will say the first phrase again, I will listen to you only if you pay attention to me. And you'll go on like this for 2.5 minutes. You'll repeat, A will repeat the sentences and B will finish the sentences. So I'll just share the slide so you can see if you need to write that down before we go into the breakout room. Okay. So A's job is to start the sentence and then just hold the space. And B's job will be to finish the sentence and, you know, just let arise what arises. You don't need to think about it too much. And you can also, part of it may be sitting with silence. And after 2.5 minutes, we'll send a message to the breakout rooms, so you know it's time to change roles. And then whoever was A will become B, and whoever was B will now start the sentences. Any questions? If you have any, if it's not clear, please feel free to raise your hand. Or is it always an if question? Yeah. Yeah, they're all conditionals. Yeah.
Mabel?
Yeah.
Steve and I are together, so maybe you don't need to put us into breakout rooms. Would that make it a bit easier? Because we're already at 2 kind of thing. It might. Would that help?
Angela, will that help?
I'll try my best. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, okay.
I was just thinking it would just might make it a bit easier. It may not.
Okay, any other questions about that? Okay, so we'll come back after 5 minutes, and then there'll be I'll explain a few questions for feedback, and you'll go back with your pair to sort of feedback with each other.
All right, here we go.
Okay. Welcome back, everyone. So we'll go back into the breakout rooms. I just wanted you to come back to give you the sort of the next part of the instructions. So is everybody back yet? No, not everybody. So we'll wait till everybody gets back. Okay, I think everybody is back now. So you'll go back with your pair, your A or B, and just do a little bit of feedback about what you noticed, what you might have learned in that very short little exercise. How did you feel during the exercise? And maybe how do you feel now about the exercise? Okay, so if you could sort of keep your conversation centered around those 3 things, it might be more fruitful than if you just sort of chat about anything. Oh, I was alone. Sorry about that. That was hard. I did it with myself. Another one, I was by myself. Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry for that, everyone. It was it's a bit of a challenge.
Yes.
No,
I was with a person, but that person not see me, no listening, and go out. And then I say, okay, I am alone. I did with myself.
Okay,
yes, interesting too, you know.
great, great. Thank you for being creative and adaptable, flexible.
Yes.
So maybe when we go back into the breakout rooms, Angela, if the people who are on their own could get put with someone.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. It's just that
Yeah.
people keep on, sometimes the connection kind of drops and then they leave the meeting, and it's just, so I was trying to do that while I was, you know, when I was seeing what was happening. But yeah, if you're alone, please come back to the main room.
Yes.
And then we can do something about it. Yeah, thank you. All right. So are we ready? Should we go?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
So you'll have another 5 minutes to discuss.
Okay.
Is it possible to get the questions on the screen? I'll put it in the chat. Yeah. Everyone's back. Okay. Okay, welcome back. Let's take a moment to, if you'd like to share anything from the learning from the exercise in the chat. What did you notice? How did you feel during the exercise? How do you feel about it now? Round 2 got very deep and felt more honest. It was hard to put my ideas into words. Round 2 was the second time of asking the questions, or the second question, Leslie? A little hard, but beautiful. It was rich to question what happens when I listen to myself. My apologies for coming in late, but I had a wonderful conversation with my exercise partner. The questions were very empowering. Responses enabled you to bring a sense of what it means to be listened to positively. Okay, yeah. I feel frustrated because I cannot talk or chat with B. We got to know each other. I thought about previous relations and people in my life, and then I thought about all sentient beings. Feel like the experience was a learning one. When we went back into the breakout rooms, I realized and admitted my observations of my lack of hearing. I had to work hard to hear. Repetitive questioning got you into active listening role without being judgmental. I second Leslie. It felt we were going deeper every time we asked the questions again. I got to learn from my exercise partner's answers. Yeah. Great. Thank you, everyone. I learned that I have an expectation about myself and my partner's answers. Yeah. Understood with my partner to be more patient with myself in difficult situations. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think that all of this work is really invites us to become more self-compassionate and more forgiving, and treat ourselves with a kind of gentleness, because we are just ordinary humans, and we have these habits that are not particularly beneficial, that are just been going on for lifetimes, for even more than lifetimes, if we think about, sort of, but their biological foundations, which, are kind of evolutionary. So it really is an invitation not to be hard on yourself, but to be sort of, see it as an opportunity to develop a kind of compassion towards whatever you see, and to realize that we do have, every moment offers us a new opportunity. And if we bring mindfulness to it, it brings us a new opportunity, opens up a choice. And that's really, quite a wonderful thing. And just to bring in a little bit of science, because we like to do that in universal education, we can connect to Barbara Fredrickson's theory of broaden and build. And by bringing in some positive emotion, some compassion, some forgiveness, some gratitude, it opens up our perspective. And I think what we saw in the last exercise, our perspective when we become judgmental can get quite narrow. And so we're not seeing people in the big picture. We're not seeing the big picture of anything. We're seeing a very, very narrow, which, because it's narrow, means that it's not a correct view, means that it's limited. And by the broaden and build theory is by when we open up ourselves to these positive qualities in ourselves, it opens up our perspective. It makes us more open to hearing other messages. We can actually hear more as well. And we can be more creative about how we bounce back. So there is so many layers to, and it's not sort of wishful thinking or trying to be positive, like I'm going to be a nice person. It's by really, touching upon the qualities we already have and developing them, that we can, our relationships do improve, our communication does improve. Not every time, but that's okay, because that gives us more chance to practice self-compassion and to practice forgiveness and patience and humility. So we'll move on now to the third wisdom theme. So again, let's take a moment to pause and let go of the exercise and the experiences we've just had. Take a moment to ground with the breath into the body, into how we are in this present moment. Noticing what's going on. Are there any particular sensations that we can become aware of in the body? Any tightness, any warmth or coolness, any tension anywhere? And just recognizing it, becoming aware of what's going on in our mind. There are lots of thoughts and ideas and emotions rushing through. And letting it be, and reconnecting with a couple of deep breaths to let go of the past conversations and make some space to open up to the next conversation. And I'd like to introduce everyone now to some very interesting work that's been done about communication by a woman called Susan Gillis Chapman. And she's written this book called The 5 Keys to Mindful Communication. And one of the tools that she uses to explain communication And in this sense, in terms of, we're talking about how we relate to one another, our interdependence, is she uses the metaphor of a traffic light. And so we have the green light, which is when the traffic is flowing, when communication is flowing in both directions, we're speaking, we're being understood, we feel like we're connected. It's a we situation, okay? And then it goes maybe to amber. Maybe someone says something that's a little bit embarrassing, or it surprises you, or it shocks you, or it upsets you. And suddenly you can feel something changing. Maybe if you're aware, you can feel something in your body closing down or tightening, or some kind of resistance, or something in your mind sort of, starting to, get judgmental and get starting to feel like upset about something and distant. And this orange light is like the warning signal, like, uh-oh, something's going on here. And then from the orange light, depending on how you feel and what's going on, you either go onto the red light, which is stop, communication has, broken down. And now instead of being a we, where it's flowing between us, we're two separate me's, and each one of us sort of locked in our own sort of individual space. And, it's not that, and sometimes it's to protect ourselves, or to, that this happens. And so sometimes it's not, you don't always want to be on the we. Sometimes you have, something is telling you, this has to stop. This is not a good conversation. This is not safe. And you need to be to respect that red light signal, and to say, okay, let's stop and do this later. But it's, I think, a really interesting, model to look at communication from. And I mean, I could recognize this in myself, and how these things change. How in, the space of one conversation, you can go to different places and come back again. And again, it's really helpful to notice what's going on in the body. So, and I'd like to show you a very, very short little video, in which a neuropsychologist, biologist, Dan Siegel, talks about this in using different language. So let me share my screen. Where's it gone? Oh, sorry about this. Where's it gone? Okay, there. Okay.
Living the lie that the self is separate is a form of impaired integration. Because the reality is, we are all, yes, differentiated as a me, but we're all linked as a we, only society and science don't tell us that. And so for me, what I tried to do in the Brainstorm book, and what I try to do now in my talks, is say, well, how do you honor the differences? You do have a personal history, and that's a me, but you also have an interconnectedness, that's a we. So it isn't getting rid of a me, it's combining the two into one. So you can use the term we, M-W-E. And we is what I think our identity should be. I'm a me and a we at the same time. And if we can get we into schools and into families and into literally the way you live, people realize that helping others is helping the self. Helping the planet is helping the self. The self is not in your body. The self is a distributed, interconnected system, and the body is just one node. And the amazing thing is, all the studies of longevity and happiness, you know, they show that when you live a life realizing you're interconnected, you're going to be happier and healthier. It's a win-win-win thing, and there's just a lie that's being perpetrated by society and science that I feel the mindfulness movement is building inner resilience and interconnectivity, and that's the empowerment that we need to promote.
So, yeah, so that's sort of, again, another sort of opening out of this aspect of how our communication enables us to, you know, really connect with others. And, you know, it's also kind of interesting to notice how, you know, what turns that orange light on for you? Is it a criticism? Is it a word, a bit of blame? Is it shame? Is it fear or shyness? The one sure way to know is you can, you know, check it out with yourself, check it out with what goes on in the body, because the body, you know, never lies. And whatever it is also a biological thing going on, because nowadays the limbic system, the reptilian brain, which is control of the fight, flight, or freeze response, is not just in connection with a threat that's to our physical body, but it also reacts to threats to our emotional stability, threats to our egos. So any of these things set this system off. And when we set this system off, what happens is our cognitive part of the brain, the top frontal cortex, goes offline. So our ability to really clearly see and think about the situation isn't working. We're responding from this place of, you know, this primitive reaction of we're going to freeze, we're going to fight, or we're going to run away. So again, it's not sort of, you know, always a choice that we're aware of. It's something to do with our evolutionary history that's going on when we respond to these orange lights and go into the red light. But it's something that, you know, we can bring awareness to, and we can, you know, use in a more beneficial way instead of being, you know, carried along on autopilot. So now we're going to do another breakout room. You have to make you work hard too in this session, about noticing some patterns that go on when we're in a conversation. So I'll just share my screen first to share a slide. Oops. Okay. Yeah. Before I share the slide about the breakout rooms, I will read you this really nice little quote, which I haven't found who said this originally. Before judging someone or his life, put on his shoes, walk the path he has walked, live and feel his sorrow, his doubts, his fears, his joys. Think about the years he has traveled and stumbled where he has stumbled. And above all, get up every time just as he did. Then, only then can you judge him. I think it's a really kind of beautiful, touching reminder about how little we really know about the other person. So this is a little exercise about, again, we're looking at the listening side primarily. And it's where are you when you're listening? So in the breakout rooms, you'll have A and B. And A will tell B some kind of, you can talk about yourself. If you don't want to talk about yourself, you can tell a story. But you're going to talk about something for 2 minutes. And B, you're going to listen, but you're also going to listen to yourself and what's going on. Are you totally absorbed in the other person's story so that you're going to, you could almost fall off your chair because you're so absorbed? Are you preoccupied by your thoughts and you're looking at them, but you're thinking about something else? A little bit of both. Are you with them and then going back to your shopping list and then coming back? Or are you present and are you aware of, what the other person's happening and what's also going on in yourself? Okay, so let's just take, we'll have 5 minutes. So you'll have 2 minutes for each. And, oh no, you'll have more than that. You'll have 2 minutes to do the exercise each. That's 4 minutes. And then 5 minutes to discuss it with each other. So we'll send you off. Angela will send a message after 2 minutes, and then you'll come back to the main room at the end. And if anyone is in a group by themselves, come back to the main room and then we can sort it out. Okay. Any questions before you go?
Somebody's asking to type those in the chat. I guess it's the question. So
okay. Yeah.
I can broadcast it if you want me to.
Okay, that's great, Angela. Yeah.
So are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So.
Are you doing okay for time, Mabel?
I'm just checking on that, Hilary.
Because you can, shorten their time together.
We finish at
3:30.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I'm way off.
I mean, 5 minutes here and there, no problem. But yeah, if it's like 25 minutes, maybe we're gonna, yeah. I mean,
okay, okay. We'll give them a little bit shorter in the breakout rooms, I think.
Okay. I don't. Okay, but. All right. I mean, yeah. Okay. So,
people won't notice if you just shorten it.
And but I want to let them know. I want to let them know in advance. I'm gonna. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah. So no problem. So.
Oh, whoops! I completely zapped it. I saw 3 o'clock, and I thought I've got plenty of time. Okay.
Just take a couple of moments now to look through how you're going to either condense the next part or leave out some.
Yeah. No, we're gonna leave out some. We're gonna just leave out some.
And how they have 7.5 minutes left. How much do you want me to take off?
Well, they can finish their exercise, so that'll be
5 minutes.
5 minutes. You can.
Maybe they don't need to talk about it amongst themselves.
Just bring them back after.
After 5 minutes. Okay, all right. So.
Give them a minute. Just give them a minute off. Give them 6 minutes.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
And then
Okay, take a breath.
Because it's not gonna. I'm still not gonna cram anything else into those extra 2 minutes.
All right. They'll be like, already? Yeah.
Oh dear, sorry about that.
No problem. Okay.
Oh, we should have skipped Dan Siegel.
That was only 1 minute. That was very short video. Maybe it's okay. It's okay.
Whatever you're covering is really rich already.
Exactly, I think so.
Yeah. And nobody will know that there's a chunk missing.
Exactly. It's so much already, isn't it? It's hips. So yeah, how go anybody unhappy in the breakout room? Hold on a minute. Who's okay? You need to do a workshop on this, a full day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true though.
I do organize it first as a 2-day workshop. I mean, the very first one was with Hillary.
Yeah.
And then and then I sort of thought I'd condensed it all. Condensed some of it into this short one. But no, you need more time.
Okay, so I'm just gonna. I mean, Zoom is gonna still give them the 60-minute grace, right? The 60 seconds kind of grace thing. All right, so I close them now. Yeah, okay. And then they have 60 seconds to. Yeah. So be like already. Oh my God, we are very good. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. So 30 seconds and everybody will be back.
Hi.
Sorry, I forgot to stop the recording on this one, Michaela. I did it on the first one, but this one I totally, kind of didn't realize it. I had to do some editing. Okay.
Okay, well, welcome back. Time has surprised me again, and we're almost at the end of our time together. So if there's any questions, please feel free to put those in the chat, and we'll try and have a look at those before we finish. And I'd like to, before we do end, just take a moment together to sit and breathe together. So I'll just wait to see if anything appears in the chat first. Let's see, Leslie Lyons, yes, please. In wanting to engage in mindful communication, we need to be mindful of ourselves and the other person. But what if we misread the other person's signals? Okay, that's a really great question, and I think that really brings me kind of full circle to His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and I think we connect to our hearts. And in my experience, when I do that, even if I misread the other signals, I can be open to that, and I can, and you can always ask, is this okay? Is this right? But when you connect to your heart and you enter into a conversation from a point of, wanting to connect to the other person, wanting to understand, then, even when misunderstandings arrive, which they do. I mean, we're ordinary people. We can diffuse them. We don't have to go switching on to the red fight, flight, defense mode. We can, remain a little bit cool and be more creative. What's your number one recommendation to be mindful? Wow, breathe. I mean, that's every time you notice you're not mindful, you're being mindful. That's the joy. It's a win-win situation. Okay, thank you. I was happy. Could you please write the title of the book and the author? Yeah. Okay. So I'll just write the title of the book and the author, and then we're going to sit down and breathe together, and then we'll have time to sort of wrap up. Okay, The 5 Keys of Mindful Communication by Susan Gillis Chapman. And it's really one kind of thing I would like to say about kindful communication, mindful communication, heartful communication is it's like all these things, it's a practice in the sense that we work on it and we do what we can and we start where we are. And it's not about, getting good at it. It's just about making it more and more part of, how we communicate and who we are. And that is a reflection really on who we are, because we all want to be more authentic to our hearts, more authentic to that sort of kind, compassionate, wise nature that we all have inside. So now let's take a moment and let that let it all that we've talked about, all the words, all the smiles, all the laughing and exchanges, let it settle a little bit. I invite you all to take a comfortable seat. And bring the attention to the breath, to the sensations of the breath in the body, as we feel the belly rising and falling, or the chest expanding and contracting, or the sensations of the air around the nostrils. And bring a kind attention to this breathing. Gratitude to the body we have that's keeping us going despite any limitations. Gratitude to all the technology that's keeping us connected today. Gratitude to all the people that have been part of this, and that were part of this even in the sense of that aren't here today, but that maybe we think have thought of today, or that were part of our reason for coming here today, or will benefit from maybe what we've learned today. And we can rejoice that we spent taking an hour and a half out of our busy days to spend time developing kindful communication, peace in our hearts, so there will be peace in our words, so there will be peace in our actions. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here. A very special thank you to old friends, to my dear sister. Happy birthday, Niv. May it be a joyful, healthy year. And yes, thank you all for participating and becoming new friends.
Thank you, Mabel. That was absolutely wonderful. Thanks
Thank
so
you
much
so
on behalf of
much.
DCW.
Thank you,
Mabel.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mabel. That was wonderful.